In the last video I found out that the crankcase pressure was not caused really by the vacuum pump, because when I was testing it I had the vacuum pump blanked off at the vacuum pump itself, and also I don't think the blow-by is coming from pistons. I honestly don't think it's that at all. So it could be the turbo. Now why I'm doing this is just to explain that I took the rocker box off and filmed the actual oil and the problem, and I was listening to it with my stethoscope. The only problem was I had to do this, I had to reshoot it, because this camera here for some reason picks up frequencies from this engine. Now it's alright when I'm stood back quite away, but when I tried to put the camera over the top, it was like something out of Doctor Who. So I filmed it using another camera which was a bit better, but the sound wasn't too good. Well, it never is, isn't it? But you'll see that later on in this video, alright? So I'll show you that. This is just a bit of a preamble. But it seems to be the only thing I can eliminate now is the turbo. There is air getting into this crankcase from somewhere, so it's not the vacuum, and I don't think it's the pistons. I'm 99% sure it's the piston, not the pistons. Why? Well, you're going to say, well, there's downdraft from the pistons when they come down. Indeed, but also when the pistons are going up, you know, through its cycle, they should really balance themselves out. So where's the excessive pressure coming from? Now, as you can see here, I've got a turbo, an old turbo. Actually, it's quite good condition really, because this the shaft is really good. But notice here, why we took this off and of course bought a new one. Look at the condition of that hose, it's all twisted. And it was burning oil. Well, the reason it was burning oil was the oil couldn't get back into the sump. Now, we haven't got a problem with that. And a lot of people are saying, Mike, there's too much oil in the sump. No, there isn't. In fact, in a minute, I'll show you the floor of here. You'll see all the oil on the floor. This is the oil that splashed out of the hose that wasn't caught by the catch can. And as you can see, there's quite a lot. You see, it goes right under there. It's all over the place. It's like Torrey Canyon's crashed into it. So, there was sufficient oil in it because most of it's dumped out. But I don't think it's excessive oil pressure, because I don't think a lot of people have actually taken off the rocker box and fired up an engine, and if you have, you'll see that there's oil everywhere. And it's not because it's too much oil pressure. It's not to do with that, it's just the way it is. It's splashing about all over the place. And where you've got your rocker shaft, where your push rods go, the oil comes through your rocker shaft, through a drilling, and onto the ball of the top of the push rod. Then the oil is supposed to go down the side through some voids that goes back into the crankcases. What was happening here is air is coming up through the crankcases and not allowing that oil to drop back down. It's pushing up. Now we've all had that problem, well not all of us, but we've had that problem before when the servo, is that on there? Wrong side, this side. When the servo leaks and air is drawn through the servo, through the vacuum pump, into the crankcases and exhausted through the breather, giving the impression that the rings are burning or something's going wrong, but there's excessive pressure. You've got a constant pressure. Now we've eliminated that by blanking off the vac pump. It can't be that. Is it the turbo? I'm clutching at straws, but I'm thinking of a way to eliminate it. Now, going back to this one I've got here, you can see this hose is completely broken. Because inside this braiding here is like a Teflon tubing, fluon Teflon type of tube. And once it's distorted, you can't get it back right again. So I had a cunning plan. People were saying, well, why don't you run it without the pipe on to see what's going to happen? Well, I could do if I want oil everywhere, because if I take this off, the oil feed at the top will just continuously feed oil into this. Oil's got to go somewhere, it's going to go on the floor again. So, could I blank it off? Could I blank the feed off? yeah, but then if I run the engine, the turbo's got no cooling oil or lubricating oil. So can't do that. My idea today was to put the car outside and then take the manifold off completely, take the whole lot off, blank off the oil feed, and have a look at and then blank off the return into the block, and that should really cap it. Except it's -15 outside, and there's no way I'm going to run an engine, a diesel engine, in here with no ventilation. I can do it like at the back here. You can probably just see I have a hose linked up to the exhaust pipe, so that goes outside and kills a few polar bears and stuff.
How dare you!
Anyway, so I had a cunning plan. I was thinking about this all last night. I was thinking, how am I going to do it? How am I going to do it? Have I got a turbo? So I dug through the shelves and I found this one. And what my intention is this. You'll like this. Not a lot. Take off the pipe of the original turbo, take it off completely, and then with this pipe here, cut this here, put a piece of flexible hose onto here, and feed it back into the engine through the rocker box. Is that not brilliant? Therefore, I can keep the turbo and all the system in place, all lubed up, and then I should be able to eliminate, by blocking the hole up in the crank, in the block, the return from the turbo. Now, if it's not that, I'm really snookered. I don't know what the hell it is, but I think that's it. Now, towards the end of the video, which you'll see in a minute when I stop rambling on, you can see, as I'm talking, that the oil has stopped coming out the breather. There's still pressure, but is that pressure from the pistons and not getting bedded in properly? I don't know, but it wasn't spewing oil out. Bizarre, eh? And also to answer some comments, I changed the black cover to the standard cover. You know, the black one had a baffle in it. But the reason I put the baffle in, because the servo was gone and it was pulling air through and blowing through the crankcase. So what we're going to do is, I think I'll do that, but I'll do it tomorrow because I've got so much of other bits and pieces to catch up on from this week. And I think that's a good idea, to put a piece of pipe on there, run the pipe into the rocker box, or even into the pipe that's on the return from the breather. That would be even better, because then the oil can get into the engine and I can take the rocker box off. You know, not the rocker box, but the oil cap off. I don't know, I'm just making it up as I go along. See you later. Right, I'm having to film this scene again for the simple reason my other camera was picking up all the frequencies when this engine was running, and it was all distorted. Didn't look too good, so this is why it's on maybe it's a different quality. And I'm standing this camera way back so I can zoom and show you what was happening. Wasn't much really, it was interesting. Damn, phone always goes off when you get to a good bit, doesn't it? Right, so as I say, we've got a different camera on, set back a bit further so I can zoom in, so we're not getting all that vibration. I've got my stethoscope. Oh, doctor, I'm in trouble. Goodness gracious me. So what I'm going to do is listen down here between the valves to hear if there's any air coming off those pistons. Now, obviously, when we had compressed air, it's greatly exaggerated, if you see what I mean, that we can hear it without the engine running. But 100 psi in a cylinder is quite a lot, and it'll zoom its way around. But when the engine's moving, if you see the piston's going like this, then it's not quite the same. You wouldn't be able to hear it. Back pressure, well, if we can't pick it up with this, we won't pick it up with anything. Well, like I say, plenty of rags, and with sawdust on, not that it matters anymore because we've got so much bloody oil everywhere. Let me start this up and you can hear it. Oh. Now that's how it starts all the time. I can't see anything wrong with the compression. if it was bad, you wouldn't start it like that, be going, well, then try to pick up. Right, now, let's do a quick zoom. And I hope you can pick it up. Yeah, you can see there's oil everywhere, so the oil's getting round this engine. I have no problem. So, let's listen to it. Now this is interesting. Did you see when I was blocking off? This is the breather hole coming from the engine. If I put my finger across it, look how much oil's getting sprayed up there. Whoa! When I take it off, there's nothing. I'm going to try and join the pipes together. That's unusual, isn't it? Obviously there's going to be pressure in the crankcases because the pistons are going down and creating a wind. But I can't hear anything coming out of those crankcases there at the top. I'll just stop this so I'll just check the oil level because I think we've been running out shortly. I don't know. I boxed it all back up, topped up the coolant, topped up the oil. It's almost still the same, but am I barking up the wrong tree? Am I thinking about something wrong? I've even taken the hose directly off the vac pump and blanked off the vac pump, thinking it's that's pushing air through. But could it be that little bit of air getting past the rings? There's so much oil in there. You can see I've changed the rocker box. I thought I saw a mouse there. I don't know. It's a real mystery. It's a real mystery. But now I've got it running. If I take the pipe off, I can see a little, or the cap off, I can see a little bit of smoke, a little bit, not much, but the oil coming out of the breather is negligible. Let me show you. So maybe you can see, I don't know. Let's bring the camera around here a bit. say there's a bit of smoke coming out of there. But it's not spewing oil out. Just a bit of smoke. Well, I expected that. Let me turn this off. So here's a question. I've the only other 300 TDI I've got to check is the one in the yard, the 90, but that's all frozen up, all the cables are frozen, there's no throttle or anything. I wonder if it's alright. I wonder if it's supposed to be like that, but by adjusting the valve, it's made a bit of a difference. I'm just wondering if the cylinder wasn't opening properly and the compression gas was getting into the crankcases rather than being burned. It's a lot better now, it runs a lot smoother. I could hear a valve was a bit tappity-tappity. I don't know what to think. But for me, the compression test was good. Now, if it's not burning, if it's not spewing oil out like it was before, maybe leave it to idle a bit more and see, because the compressions were really different from when I did it before, and the engine was hot before. It was 325 if you can remember. Now we're nearly up to 400. I don't know. Let me get this cleaned up because it's freezing cold outside now. I'll have to think of a way to clean it all up, but let me get it all washed off, get washed down, get the oil off it, and let me run it, because like I say, I've got the vac pump blanked off, so that it can't be that, because there's no other entry for air. I thought the hose was maybe a bit split, but no. Is it the turbo? Is it the turbo pushing fumes into the crankcase, you know, like pushing air in? Or is it normal? I don't know, I've got nothing to compare it with. Have a look at yours, see what you think. See you later.